Hello friends, this is Rangarajan. Welcome to our channel Making Money. In this video, we are going to take a look at investing in real estate. It's a dream for middle class people to buy a house. Some even have this as their lifetime goal. Once they buy a house, they get the feeling of accomplishing something great, and they also think that they made a good investment. Let us take a look at this in detail in this video. According to Robert Kiyosaki, in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, an asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. If you own a house and use it as your home, it's not an asset, it's a liability because your home will not put money in your pocket. In fact, it will take money out of your pocket by means of maintenance, repair, and taxes. Also, no one will sell their home in which they stay. So, it doesn't matter how much the house is worth. We are not going to gain anything from it. Well, you could argue that you will be saving rent if you stay in your own house, but we can't quantify it until we calculate return on investment. The house that you are staying in it is not an asset. How can a house you stay be an investment if it's not even an asset? Because we invest in assets to earn a good return in future and use it for our benefit. But no one will sell the house that they are staying in and use it for other purposes. So, the house that you stay in is neither an asset nor an investment. If you haven't read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's probably a good time to take a look at it. It's a good start for your investment journey and to understand the basics of money, assets, and liabilities. We have established that the house we stay in is not an asset. Let's take a look at when a house becomes an asset. When a house adds money to your pocket, it becomes an asset. That is, if you let your house for rent, it earns you money and it becomes an asset. You all would have heard a story on how your father or your grandfather made multifold returns in real estate. They would say that the real estate they bought for some thousands it's now worth lakhs or even crores. But the thing you have to notice that even they don't know their annualized returns. We need to know how much annualized returns we made. Based on that only, we can come to the conclusion that whether the investment we made is good or not. Here, the returns they talk about is absolute returns, which doesn't convey enough information on its own. For example, let's assume that you bought a property for 1 lakh and it's worth now 10 lakh rupees. The absolute returns is 1000 percentage, that is 10 times. But we can't do much with the knowledge of absolute returns. We need to know how much we made every year. So, we need to calculate the yearly returns, known as compounded annual growth rate, abbreviated as CAGR. We calculate CAGR by using the present value of something to work out the yearly returns in reverse. We do this because in many investments we don't know the annualized returns beforehand. Even before investing in a small FD, we check the interest rate provided with multiple banks, but we don't have a clear picture on expected return with real estate. Let us do a simple calculation to know more about the returns in real estate. We all would have heard the investment story of a guy who bought a real estate for 1 lakh rupees 35 years ago and it's worth now 1 crore rupees. And we all would have got excited by hearing how the real estate made 100 times profit. The fact that it made 100 times profit is not much information to work with. Most of us will not notice that in how many years that they have earned this 100 times profit. To get a better idea, we need to calculate the CAGR using the formula you see on your screen. If we replace the end value with 1 crore and start value with 1 lakh and n as 35 years, we get a return on investment of just 14%. Don't get me wrong, 14% is a good return, but not an extraordinary one. We made a little calculation from 1980 for returns on FD and it came to 9.5% for 35 years. Since the inflation is less now, we are getting less interest rates with FD. For the same period, Sensex gave a return of 16.2%. This means that if someone had invested in Sensex 35 years ago instead of real estate, they would have got a return of 16.2% instead of 15%. You might ask, what is the big deal with 2%? Here, you can see the power of compounding in action. In the same 35 years, 1 lakh rupees with an interest of 16.2% every year would have compounded to 1.9 crore. The 2% difference would make 2 times the money. If you don't know what a Sensex is, that's fine. We'll take a look at it in the future videos. Rental yield. The word rental yield refers to the percentage of the money that you get back as rent every year from the real estate with respect to your initial investment. Let's say you have invested rupees 1 crore to buy a house and you have rented that house. Assume that you are getting 25,000 per month as rent. Then for a year you would have got 3 lakh rupees as rent. 3 lakh rupees is 3% of 1 crore. So your rental yield is 3%. This is the gross rental yield. The net rental yield will be lesser than this. Net rental yield is the profit that you get from a property after maintenance, repair and taxes. I'll let you decide how much your rental yield is going to be after all these extra charges. Why should we buy a home and let it for rent with a return of 3% when a simple FD gives you a return of 6 to 8%? But the thing to notice here is that on top of rent, your property will grow in value. This isn't going to happen with FD. If the rental yield is at least 5%, then you can consider letting the house for rent. Otherwise, it's not wise to buy a house and let it for rent. If the rental yield is lesser than 5%, it's better to stay in a rented house. If the rental yield of the place you are staying in increases, you can start to think about buying a house. But one interesting fact is that India is one of the countries where the rental yield is very low. One might expect it to continue in the future. While buying a property, there are a lot of things that you need to spend your money on top of the actual property value. Stuff like stamp charges, registration charges, lawyer fees will aggregate to a total of about 9 to 10% of the property value, and you'll have to pay for those. So, the larger the investment, larger will be your extra charges, as it's not fixed and tracks your investment. Even after owning a house, you will have to pay some amount from your pocket regularly. Every year, you will have to pay property tax, water tax, and other charges like maintenance and repair. As if this is not enough, the house you bought will depreciate in the long term. Your land price might increase, but the house price will decrease over time. The best part about renting a house is that the rent can be inflation adjusted. That is, to match the inflation, you can increase the rent on your property even if the inflation rate is very low. On top of the rent that you get, the value of your property will increase as the land appreciates due to demand. But this is not applicable for the house that you stay in. As discussed before, no one will sell the house they stay in. So the worth of the house that you stay in doesn't matter. Buying a own house has been a great dream for middle class people. It gives an emotional satisfaction of achieving something great to them. If you own a house, you can redesign your house as you wish. For example, you can start a garden on the terrace of your house or even have pets. No one will question you as you are the landlord. You will be leaving an immovable asset to your next generation if you buy a house. This will be of great use to them. Now, let's take a look at the cons of the real estate. One of the major concerns with real estate is that the liquidity of it is very low. Liquidity represents the ability to turn your asset into cash by selling it. In case of the real estate, we can't sell our property as soon as we like. At times, it might even take years to sell. If you want to sell the real estate immediately, you will have to sell it for a price that is less than the market price. So, you can't depend on your real estate for your emergency needs. One of the most important problems with real estate is that the token size is huge. The token size refers to the amount that we need to buy a product. For example, if we have 5000 rupees, we can buy a gram of gold or invest in FD. If we have 500 rupees, we can buy stocks or mutual fund units. But in case of real estate, most of us will have to use our lifetime savings. If we invest in real estate, then most of us will have very little or no money to invest in other assets. Because of this, it's hard to diversify your portfolio. Diversification is the process of splitting your money and putting it into many investments or asset classes. Not diversifying your investment is highly risky. If you invest only in one investment and if that goes bust, you would lose most of your money. So, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Let's assume that you have bought only one land with all your money, and if someone comes and claims it as theirs, then it will take half of your lifetime to face it legally. Hope you would have understood the importance of diversification, but it's hard to diversify your investment in case of real estate, as you won't have much capital left for diversification. With real estate, there is no fixed price tag as in other investments. For example, if you take gold, it will have a fixed price every day. Whoever buys the gold that day will pay the same price. But in real estate, there is no fixed rate. You would have bought the plot for some rate and someone else would have bought the plot next to yours for a different price. If you have good negotiation skills, you would have gotten the real estate for a lesser price. In major cities of India, the price of real estate is already very high. For the past few years, the rate of the plots have not increased. In fact, the price actually dropped in many places because the middle class can't afford to buy real estate in the heart of the city. For any product to increase in price, people should be able to afford them easily. In case of real estate, the price is already very high. For the price of the real estate to increase, people should start earning more, meaning that the economy should grow. Then the price of the real estate might increase. Even if the price of the real estate increases, we might not get the multifold returns like we used to get years back. If we apply our previous example here, and if we buy a land or a house for 1 crore rupees, in 35 years for it to grow 100 times, it have to sell for 100 crore rupees. I'll let you come to the conclusion on whether the economical state of the people will grow that much or not. Some buy real estate and after many years they sell it for the same price, thinking that they have averted loss, but they forget about inflation. If they buy a land and sell it for the same price after 5 years, considering an inflation of 8%, their loss is about 50%. In general, the value of the real estate keeps on increasing, but not all property appreciates at the same rate. The appreciation depends on the growth of the city, connectivity, and other parameters. So, the appreciation of your property is not in your hands. It's based on the growth of the area. If you get a better job in some other city than the one you live in, you will have to leave your self-owned house behind and rent a house in the new city. Mostly, you will have to pay more rent than what you get from your own house, as you would have moved to a better city with a better job. Also, it's hard to maintain your house and manage tenants from another city. For example, if you leave your house behind in Chennai to work at Bangalore, the previous mentioned statement becomes true and you will have to pay more in rent than you get as rent. Now, most people buy house with loan. The interest rate would be around 8 to 9%. They pay about 20% as down payment and the remaining 80% comes from loan. For example, if someone is buying an apartment for 60 lakhs, assume that he pays 15 lakhs from his hand and 45 lakhs comes from loan. Let's say the interest rate is 8.5%. Then, for a tenure of 20 years, the monthly installment works out to 39,000 rupees. After 20 years, he would have paid 93 lakh rupees for the 45 lakh loan that he has taken. In 20 years, the apartment would have depreciated much. After paying the monthly installment of rupees 39,000, he won't have much money left to invest in other investments. In times of recession, just like the one caused by coronavirus, we would have to live in fear on how to pay the EMI in case we lose our job. If one invested the 15 lakhs in an investment that gives 12% annual return and deposited rupees 39,000 monthly, then in 20 years it would have compounded to 5 crores. With this money, one can buy a house, pay their child's education fees, and enjoy the rest of the money. I hope that now you would have understood when a house becomes an asset and the return on real estate. Now you can decide for yourself if you should invest in real estate or not. To learn more about the topics discussed in this video, check out the links in the description box. If you have enjoyed the video, then like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel Making Money.